Hey, this is ADV Trust, and we're headed to Death Valley to see the bloom. And while we're there, we're going to reconnoiter some other canyons to see if there's places we'd like to go back later to go camping with Alice. We decided to set up base camp in Echo Canyon. Be aware of camping in Echo Canyon, that even though the park map shows that you can camp in dispersed camping, a permit is required. And you're going to be one mad cat when somebody drives up with a permit for your site and then the ranger asks you to leave. The first location on our tour was Echo Canyon, and this was actually a surprise canyon because we were planning to camp down in Trail Canyon, but we arrived late, got in late, and actually found Echo, which is almost like a mini Titus Canyon. One of the first things that you're going to see when you start entering the canyon is petroglyphs, so keep your eyes out and see if you can find them. We found 2, but there may be more. Echo Canyon is going to be a full day, so plan for that. There's lots of mine sites, interesting geology, and of course we decided to go in the spring because I've never seen the flowers in the desert, so this was like my first time seeing that. And there are plenty in Echo Canyon. It's a vast canyon. We stayed on the main trail system going to the Inyo mine, but there is a trail system that forks off that may be more technical, may offer more dispersed camping. So it's definitely something that if you're in it with a group of friends or feeling more adventurous than I was, kind of solo, that you might want to go explore. The road is totally doable for most stock 4x4s. Again, if you see my other Death Valley video, I would always recommend having good tires, always recommending having extra water and emergency kits when going to the valley. But definitely doable, at least up to the Inyo mine with a stock vehicle, and perfect for kids and families. Now within Echo Canyon, you saw the Eye of the Needle, and there's also the Inyo mine. And the Inyo mine was a gold mine established early 1900s, and really kind of took off between 1900s to 1907 during the panic, right? They had tramways, ore cars, they were hauling in water from Furnace Creek, and estimates vary, but they housed anywhere between 30 to 60 miners who were working the various shafts and equipment. And one of the cool things you can do is there's a very accessible and easy walkable mine shaft that you can go exploring in. Now, I'm a little bit of I'm claustrophobic, I'm afraid of the dark. It's a trifecta of me getting scared, but you're walking down the mine and you're like, man, this is so cool. Where does this go, right? And then you start to see, I started to see these pipes and rails and all kinds of stuff. So explore the mine safely. I got to a point where I was like, ooh, this is cool. And then I went and looked at where was the entrance, and it was a ways away from me. So as you're exploring these old sites, do so in a safe and respectful manner. And there's still a lot to see at the Inyo mine. Now let's talk about the alluvial fans. If you're planning on exploring any of these 3 canyons, Trail, Johnson, or Hanaupah, I'm probably saying it wrong, leave a comment down below, you're going to need to traverse these alluvial fans. All 3 canyons have them. And you're going to be saying to yourself, ADV Trust, I don't even know what an alluvial fan is. That's okay, I got you covered. So here's a quick geology lesson for today. Death Valley, these ranges, go back to the Precambrian period, which is super old, which means water's been rushing down these canyons for millions of years, which means these mountains were way bigger, and now these alluvial fans are just huge deposits of rock over millions of years. Think of it as water rushing down a river, depositing all this soil year after year after year. And some of these deposits are up to, I think it's at least 1 mile to 3 miles deep. Yes, I know, but ADV Trust, you're boring me with geology. What does this have to do with overlanding? Well, what it has to do, or what it means to you, is that you're going to be driving your rig up a very long and steep gradient for quite a while. These alluvial fans are no joke, so plan accordingly and use 4-low if needed. After Echo Canyon, we spent a day exploring Echo Canyon and then headed over to Trail Canyon. And I've got to say, getting up to the point where I was like, I've gone as far as I'm going to go today. Trail Canyon's quite pretty. Now, the thing with Trail Canyon is it goes through kind of alluvial field. There's a lot of boulders, a lot of rocks as you're traversing to try to get up into the main part of the canyon. And me being solo, I hit a rock field and I picked the better part of Valor and stopped and had lunch and, you know, kind of enjoyed some of the sights. So if you're with a group of friends, you can probably continue down quite a ways. Or if you're, you know, maybe a more seasoned off-roader, probably this trail is going to be no problem for you. There are a few things to note on Trail Canyon. We saw no one else the entire day. Not only on the main road down by the Salt Flat in Death Valley, or by the Salt March or whatever it is, but we saw no other people all the way up the alluvial fan and when we stopped and had lunch and in the afternoon when we came back. From a camping perspective, we didn't see a lot of places up to the main canyon mouth for camping. So and it was quite rocky. So this was not, you know, a canyon I think we'll be going back to. And also, you know, from a hiking, you know, interesting history perspective, there really isn't much back in this canyon. So kind of keep that in mind as you're going up. The next day, we headed over to Johnson Canyon. And I've got to say, between the 4 canyons we explored, Johnson Canyon is my all-time favorite. You can see here, this is a picture of an awesome camping site in Johnson Canyon. You could probably fit 10 rigs here. Now, the 2 canyons that have what I'll call consistent or year-round water sources are Johnson and Hanaupah Canyon. So Johnson Canyon, we know that the Shoshone used this as a maybe not, you know, full-time living, but they did camp here. And at the end of Johnson Canyon, on the way over to Panamint, there is Johnson Ranch. Now Johnson Ranch, or not Johnson Ranch, Hungry Bill's Ranch. It was at one time called Johnson Ranch before Hungry Bill took residency. And as far as I know, if you know, I would love, you know, my plan is to go back, camp at where you saw my rig, and actually hike up to Hungry Bill's Ranch, aka Johnson's Ranch, as technically there's still some buildings and other trail systems up there because it used to trail over to Panamint. This is also a really pretty valley. I mean, and there's some good camping sites along the road. So, you know, if you go up here and you're looking for a dispersed camping site, it's really pretty. And I think it's also secluded from the wind, and you have a great view of the mountains, especially if you go in the spring. Again, the road did get a little rougher as we went in. We did see one other rig in Johnson Canyon while we were there. But again, that was one rig on the whole ride in, all the way up to Johnson Canyon and back. So just, you know, I know you're going to be mentally aware of the fact that you are pretty much alone in Death Valley. Yet don't let that deter you. And if you get a chance, Johnson Canyon is definitely a place to camp out. The other canyon we explored is Hanaupah Canyon, and this is a really beautiful little canyon. This canyon has a year-round water source, and I know you can hike to it, and this may be something that I do in the future. Again, this trip was really around reconnoitering some of the canyons in Death Valley, identifying places we'd like to go back and explore more. I'm a big kind of ramble hiker, you know, I'm not like Appalachian Trail, but I do like to get out and just wander around and look at rocks and look at the beauty and, you know, kind of see cool stuff, right? So Hanaupah was just stunning. And again, Hanaupah has some good sites for dispersed camping. And we actually came across a rather large group, I'd say it was probably 7 rigs, who had set up a base camp, and they had their dirt bikes and stuff that they were going out, dirt bikes and electric bikes that they were taking out exploring. And as you can see here, you can see the snows on the mountains. The flowers are just in bloom in all these canyons. And one of the things, and it's later on in the video if you're into that kind of stuff, is I did try to like get a pic of every flower that came across every different flower because it was just so beautiful. The other thing to note is the roads are pretty rough, right? There's sharp rocks, there's deep gravel in many places, and there's actually a couple, larger boulders and things that you need to navigate. So I would not recommend this for, a non-lifted four-wheel drive vehicle. I mean, you can definitely make it up the alluvial fans and get to a place, that you feel comfortable. Unlike Echo Canyon, where just a stock regular, Mustang or something, could make it. Once you start getting into these alluvial fans off the main road, you do start hitting a lot of boulders, and it does get, moderately off-roady. But hey, DV Tress, I'm totally into the off-roading thing. Then this is also going to be your jam, because the further you go back down these roads, the more technical it becomes. The more boulders you hit, the more rock fields you hit, as you start to go further down these canyons. So all in all, if you're planning to go to Death Valley and you don't want to kind of do the same, the go to the dunes and tra-la-la, then definitely explore the canyons. In my personal opinion, I think Echo Canyon is a great place to base camp. It's kind of in the center. Additionally, and while you're there, if you need beer, ice, firewood, stuff for s'mores, you can go to the Furnace Creek Ranch. In the back is a store, a market that has all those things and more. It's kind of funny. They don't advertise that there's a market there, and I think that's just to keep the riffraff and travelers out. Now, while we were in Death Valley, I told you we saw some wildlife, some desert flowers, and some other things. As far as wildlife, I saw 2 different types of lizard, and one of those was a chuckwalla, and also came across this female coyote. Just a side note on the coyotes, don't feed them. Apparently a coyote was hit by a car in Death Valley because now they're associating cars with food. And also wildflowers in abundance. And while you're driving around, you may come across cairns, which are actually kind of cool to go explore around. Oh, and did I say I took a couple pictures of some wildflowers? Okay, maybe I was lame. Maybe I took more than a couple. You will remember I did say I stopped to take a photo of every flower. I mean, every flower. Well, that was it. We spent 3 nights in Death Valley, had a wonderful time, and we actually got to see at night Venus rising. First time for that. So until next time, friends, see you down the trail.